For most of us, Dame Judi Dench is M.
Sake! Just get out of the way! Don't you recognize the car?
Madam.
She transformed the role and helped bring James Bond into the 21st century. A lifetime of experience allowed her to create a very modern and very human M.
Judi has balls, M has balls, and she knows how to use them.
You connect with her immediately when you see her on screen because there's a sort of joy and there's this twinkle in her eye, which is just sort of magical.
Judi challenges you in an extraordinary, frightening and exhilarating way to be the very, very, very best that you can.
You've got to progress. You can't ever stand still. You can't go back.
Besides Bond, Judi has shown the world how it's done in independent film,
Should I smile or should I be serious?
Hollywood film, Shakespeare, modern theatre, TV sitcom, musicals, and even as a mouse.
So confusing.
And then, of course, there is her national treasure status.
She would say she doesn't enjoy being a national treasure, which would be an absolute bloody lie. She loves it.
But beyond the Dame Judi we all think we know, there is another Judi. Private, instinctive, enigmatic.
I feel more comfortable when I'm dressed up as somebody else, being somebody else and talking. I find it difficult to go along as myself.
I do think she's one of those people who expresses something in her art that she cannot express in life.
She'll enjoy making you laugh. But equally, she's capable of making you cry and doing that turn on the sixpence. And you do feel that at that moment you've seen into the soul, the real Judi.
I think the real Judi dresses in leather with metal spikes on it and screams punk rock all night and annoys the neighbours, kills cats.
In order to understand the real Dame Judi Dench, we will explore some of the most powerful performances of her career. Through them, we will uncover her secrets and show why she is regarded as one of the most versatile actors in history. Over 50 years ago, a young Judi was on her way to one of the most memorable auditions of her life. Already a success at the Royal Shakespeare Company, she had yet to make her mark in film.
I went up about a film once, before I'd ever made a film, and I went into a room and there were 5 big men there. They offered me a seat and nobody said anything. And this man looked at me for a long time, and then he took a cigar out of his mouth and he said, "Miss Dench, you have every single thing wrong with your face." And I got up and I walked out of the room.
These boots are made for walking, and that's just what they'll do. One of these days, these boots are gonna walk all over you.
Oh, how history has proved that particular director wrong.
Start walking.
50 years after that audition, Dame Judi Dench has become one of the most successful and recognized actors in the world. This was in no small part due to her role in international espionage.
Who the hell do they think they are? I report to the Prime Minister, and even he's smart enough not to ask me what we do. Have you ever seen such a bunch of self-righteous, arse-covering prigs? I didn't for a second ever imagine that I would play M. And I was a huge fan of the Bond films. 17 years and did 7 films. And just the most glorious time.
But Bond is only one part of the story. Judi's real break in cinema came on a low-budget film made for the BBC. Judi was in her 60s.
She openly confessed that she was terrified about doing it. And I said, why? It seemed improbable, given the breadth and depth of experience that she'd had in her career. And she said, because I don't trust that I'll know what to do. My job was initially to try and engender confidence in her that she could pull it off. The project definitely daunted her.
It's your first real starring role in a movie, isn't it?
It is, it is.
Because you don't like films much, do you?
I don't know the business of it. I really rely very, very, very much on the director. I'm very, very unsure of myself in the movies, very.
But if Judi was nervous, her co-star was terrified.
Mr. Brown, ma'am.
She frightened the life out of me at first because, you know, she was such a giant of the business. And I said to John Madden, I'll do the part, but I want to meet her first. We talked and we found who we didn't like, which I always find endears me to people if we're linked by people we loathe, you know.
Billy Connolly played the part of John Brown, who was to console the Queen after the death of her husband, Prince Albert.
Honest to God, I never thought to see you in such a state. You must miss him dreadfully.
You do not... He... Get him out! Get him out! Get him out! Get him out!
First scene we did, Queen Victoria burst into tears in the middle of it. And we did it 12 times, and she burst into tears 12 times. And it blew me sideways, you know, it was just that was the great reality of her.
My husband used to say, you have a huge well of sadness in you, an incredible kind of deep pit of something. And I suppose out of that pit came any grief that I showed as Queen Victoria.
The film told the story of the friendship and then deepening affection that developed between Queen Victoria and Mr. Brown.
We were doing the Ate Some Reel in a scene in the castle, and she was directly opposite me. And in the middle of the dance, I thought, oh my God, she fancies me. Judi Dench fancies me, what am I going to do? You know, I'm not that good at spotting that in a woman, but I spotted it in lumps here. I thought, oh Christ, how do I get out of this? And of course she was acting, and she did fancy John Brown. And suddenly the penny dropped in my head, and I began to act properly. And it was one of the lessons of my life. She just gave it to me for free.
Mrs. Brown surpassed all expectations, and Judi was nominated for an Oscar. And although she didn't win that time, Mrs. Brown was the beginning of a new era. Judi, the film star.
There was an extraordinary story that she once told me. She'd gone to America to do the pre-publicity for Mrs. Brown, in fact it was. And she was being interviewed by the American journalists, and they said to her, in all seriousness, they said, well, you know, we all know you from the Bond films, so what did you do before? And that's sort of 40 years of a career that you have to go, well, I've done quite a lot of Shakespeare. Completely oblivious to the magnificence that we've all been watching for as long as I can remember.
What angel wakes me from my flowery bed?
For nearly 60 years, Judi Dench has been first and foremost a Shakespearean actor.
Shakespeare has always been my passion.
Therefore the winds piping to us in vain, as in revenge have sucked up from the sea contagious fogs.
They're such wonderful parts.
That Herod's head I'll have.
I am a spirit of no common rate. The summer still doth tend upon my state.
The man who pays the rent. That's what Shakespeare is known as in our house.
She does make it look absurdly easy. You do think it's just like breathing for her, speaking Shakespearean text. It just seems like she rolls out of bed and just does it, you know? What she is masterful at is hiding how difficult it is.
What comfortable hour canst thou name that ever graced me with thy company?
She has immense knowledge, immense technical craft, but you are simply unable to see it.
But hard as it is to believe today, Judi's first role in Shakespeare, aged just 18, was a disaster.
I got cast as Ophelia, straight out of drama school. Very, very lucky, but quite hard. Baptism of fire. I tried every way to make her mad when she came to the mad scene. Now, I know now that I need have only chosen one thing to convey to the audience her madness, and it would have been enough. You know, less is more. It's a very, very difficult thing to learn when you're a young actor. There's no shortcuts, and it is something you have to learn by experience. And I got terrible notices as Ophelia. I had to do an enormous swallow, and I could have been fired, and that would have been it. I don't know what would have happened. Anyway, didn't matter, because I played lots and lots and lots of Shakespeare, and so I did learn.
The elbow. Oh, ainsi dire, the elbow.
When I was a little girl, I'd seen my brother play Lady Macbeth at school, and my other brother was playing Duncan. I always remember he came in and said, "What bloody man is that?" I said, "Oh," I was about 8. I thought, this is thrilling. This isn't just Shakespeare, it's swearing too. So the play must have been one of the first Shakespeare plays I'd ever seen.
In 1976, Judi and fellow actor Ian McKellen asked the director Trevor Nunn whether they could play the leading roles in Shakespeare's bloody tale of obsession and murder.
I was immediately aware that if Judi Dench and Ian McKellen worked on it, then there was an extraordinary possibility to re-examine Macbeth. And we went ahead very much on a tide of their joint energy.
Great clouds, worthy Cawdor, greater than both by the all-hail hereafter.
Ian McKellen had worked with Judi once before.
She famously arrives at the first rehearsal unprepared, but she's a quick study, and suddenly, somewhere in the middle of the first week, Judi became the character. And she'd learnt the words, and she knew how she wanted to inhabit them, and that can be alarming if you're still struggling up your own mountain, and you look up and there's Judi, and the top of her's waving, "Come on up."
Hail, King that shall be. Hail, King that shall be.
Nothing happens by chance with Judi. She has worked it out. But when she works it out is a bafflement to me. Judi discovered that Lady Macbeth was not simply the embodiment of all evil. It wasn't simply someone who was off the rails. On the contrary, everything that goes wrong with her character and her husband is rooted in their love for each other.
Your face, my Thane, is as a book where men may read strange matters. To beguile the time, look like the time. Bear welcome in your hand, your eye, your tongue. Look like the innocent flower, but be the serpent under it.
I've just always believed that she was incredibly ambitious, not for herself, but for her husband. So she pushes through the one deed which she thinks is going to be glory for them both for the rest of their lives.
Will these hands ne'er be clean?
You were entirely taken into this woman's world. You identified with her needs and her passions and ambition, and almost the only time I thought this play is a tragedy, because this woman essentially destroys herself and destroys her husband. that's the extent that she transformed the play and transformed the part.
Gradually, the rift gets wider and wider between them. And that is, in a way, what she dies of, I think. There's nothing for her to live for. And that's the tragedy of it.
Do the roles take you over? I mean, you...
No.
They don't. I mean, you don't walk around Sainsbury's as Cleopatra.
No. Tricky, actually. Tricky shopping. Tricky shopping when you come to play Lady Macbeth round Sainsbury's.
That keeps the old feet on the ground.
It certainly does, when you have the shopping list to do.
Judi continues to play in Shakespeare. In early 2016, she received a record 8th Olivier Award for her supporting role in Sir Kenneth Branagh's The Winter's Tale. But the reason she has become one of the most versatile actors of her generation is the fact that Shakespeare alone was not enough for Judi.
There's a boredom threshold with Judi. She says herself, she can get, I've done that now, let's get on to something else.
Come on, pretty baby, let's move it and groove it.
Hey, up. Hey. In 1963, Judi was given a part in an early episode of the BBC Z-Cars, one of her first steps into the world of television and a very different medium.
Oh, they go for it, don't they? A bit of a punch-up fancy, that's some of them.
What's your name?
Judy Garland.
Judi had already made her mark in the theatre.
Ever since this world began.
Hey, shut it.
She was beginning to be talked about as potentially a great young actor.
When I first did television, I thought I'd never come to grips with it at all. But John Hopkins wrote this quartet of plays called Talking to a Stranger, about a family in suburbia. And Christopher Morahan was directing it.
Talking to a Stranger is very bleak, indeed. I mean, I think there are some actors who would find it too frightening and wouldn't be able to do that, and that's why they weren't cast. But I mean, Judi was a most marvelously rich, tough-minded actor.
I use the fear, I think, because that creates adrenaline. So you can use all that because you'll need that anyway. I don't know about anything else. Except that, you know, that I'm sure that every actor has that kind of fear, and it's not part of the deal to share it.
Would you like to hear my life story? No, of course you wouldn't. Everyone else has a perfectly good life story of their own. Oh, I had such a happy childhood. Happy, happy, happy.
The first time I saw Judi, she was playing this very, very troubled teenager. Now, the conventional view would be a brilliant performance of troubled teenager equals very disturbed childhood and teenage years.
This is a family?
Isn't it?
The outward and visible, maybe, if you don't look too closely.
Now, with Judi, the reverse is true. Judi had a very happy, settled childhood.
Your childhood, of course, was in Yorkshire.
Yes, I love it still.
What were your early ambitions as a child?
My first ambition was to be the owner of a fish shop.
Why? I mean,
It's the feel and the look of it. And very early on, I took some kippers from the fish shop.
You mean you stole?
Stole them, and my mother found out when we were in, you go straight back and take them back.
Judi's father, Reginald Arthur Dench, was the local GP. But outside of the surgery, he had a variety of other roles. Here, he can be seen in a production of Dick Turpin, starring alongside his wife and Judi's brother.
We had a big hamper, and we had all sorts of bits of things. And we were always dressed up in costume.
As a child, Judi was surrounded by theatre. Here she is seen playing an angel in the famous York mystery plays.
There was no pressure for her to become an actress. There was simply this extraordinary talent that she was nursing.
Her portrayal of life in a very different family to her own would earn her a BAFTA in her first major TV role.
Do you think you're so important?
I think anyone who needs something, anything, I don't know, God knows.
Your friends think that's very funny,
Look,
I suppose.
once and for all, the friends I've got, I haven't got any. You put butter on that piece of bread, eat, and you still wouldn't choke on them.
Be quiet.
Sweetie, I've only just started.
I don't think we, as an audience in Britain, had seen a suburban family dissected and asked to be witnesses in such a way before. The rawness was palpable.
Tonight? No, well, I can't tonight. No, I'm not busy. I just don't want to go out with you. Not tonight, not tomorrow night, not... Well, you know what I mean. No, look, Chris, I had a dolly time. You were very sweet and all that. You make somebody a very nice, whatever the word is, husband. I know that's not the idea, but it's what you're cut out for. Ask your wife.
It would be very difficult to do a scene like that, the speech on the phone, because it is basically a monologue.
Well, it's the only way I know how to talk. What do you think? I put it on? Is that what you think?
To sustain that level of emotional connection and to vary it all the time. She'll laugh when it's unexpected. She'll be cynical when it's unexpected, and so on.
You'll soon find a substitute. I can name a dozen. Come the dark, you won't even notice.
She has an instinctive empathy for more or less everyone she meets. And certainly at the heart of her craft is a capacity to empathise and fully comprehend the lives of people who are quite distinct from her.
You were made for me. Everybody tells me so. You were made for me. Don't pretend that you don't know.
Judi's work in TV and theatre had brought critical acclaim, but it was only after she met and then married the actor Michael Williams that she found broad popular appeal.
It was no surprise to anybody that they just absolutely hit it off instantly. They were absolutely the right size, the right optimism, the right sense of humour for each other.
And in 1981, Michael and Judi embarked together on a sitcom.
Let's talk about you. Helen said you were a linguist.
Yes.
It was to become a classic.
Oh, no, I'm sure it's not. I mean, what are you translating at the moment?
A German textbook on urinary infections.
It was really good fun for her to be able to work on something with Mike. She adored him.
What about the bank?
Well, I already owe them.
Well, owe them more.
And at the same time, it was financially rewarding. I don't know if you have any idea what you get paid as an actor at the Royal Shakespeare Company in the National Theatre, but it's barely enough to support a family. But she also loved the fact that she had an audience exponentially larger than anything she'd ever done before.
Many in the audience believed they were getting a glimpse of the real Judi.
The audience see her, first of all, as someone rather ordinary and not unlike their sisters or people they know, but suddenly they see there's some strange depth there and they want to know, where did that come from?
Look, if you can get by without the sheer black nighty, I can get by without the words.
Do people expect you to be like the character you play in Fine Romance?
They do expect us to be like that, and they think that our lives at home were exactly like it. It's not at all like us, but I think that the appeal of it is because it is more like real life, in that in that it's more, life is more like having a dinner with somebody and thinking how lovely you are, and you find the spinach on your tooth or the egg all down your front.
Why are you winking? Do you know something about the food that I don't?
I've lost a contact lens.
Here?
Well, it must be here. It was in a minute ago.
Oh, well, where is it?
Why do people always ask that when you've lost something?
What's going on?
I sometimes drop down your front.
I think what was remarkable is that neither Judi or Michael did what I describe as sitcom acting.
Look, if you wiggle about a bit, I'll have a look on the floor.
Occasionally there'd be pauses where one or the other was just thinking and reacting, and in the syntax of sitcom, that's very, very bold stuff.
Are you ready to hold yourself?
No, thank you. We're still deciding.
Judi would defer to Michael. Michael was a very clever comedy actor. Michael would say, you should have left a longer pause there before the punchline. And Judi would say, yes, you're right. So there was tremendous respect going between them.
You're a distinguished Shakespearean actress, yet best known for a somewhat trivial television
Yes, and
comedy.
a lot of people say to me, is this the first job you've had? So it's very nice to reach an audience who don't want to come and see Shakespeare, but who do want to sit and see you in their...
But you don't feel, is this what all my training has been about?
No, I don't. I like it a lot, because I like to do something that is the most unexpected thing.
Quick, hide. TV sitcom remained a draw, and in 1992, she starred alongside Geoffrey Palmer in the hugely popular As Time Goes By.
At last, we've got a bit of weekend to ourselves.
It ran for a decade.
There are many very successful sitcom actors of both genders, but they haven't also been very good as Lady Macbeth or Sally Bowles in Cabaret.
Ha, sha. Don't tell Mama. Sha, sha. Don't tell Mama. Don't tell Mama. Whatever you do.
I do like the challenge of something new. I've always wanted to do a musical, and everyone kind of says, oh, get you, when they say musical. But I want to have a go. And I want to have a great big orchestra and everything, and a bit of dancing, a bit of singing, a bit of acting, and a chorus and all. I long for that, because that's a really different thing.
In 1968, Judi Dench starred as Sally Bowles in Cabaret, a musical based in a seedy nightclub in 30s Berlin.
Doesn't even have an ink.
When she tries, as Sally Bowles, to hit the high note, the character doesn't quite achieve it, but the actor does. It's a totally successful rendering of Cabaret. No one will ever sing it as well. Couldn't.
You can tell my papa, that's all right, because he comes in here every night. But don't tell Mama what you saw.
We're in two.
We are in two.
It would be almost 20 years before Judi would return to the musical stage in Stephen Sondheim's powerful love story, A Little Night Music.
What is it that you're trying to prove?
I'm trying to prove that I'm worthy of another part coming up after the next one, you know. Because people say all the time, what are you going to do next? I have no idea what I'm going to do next.
Have to get through today.
Once we get today over, we shan't mind.
Little Night Music centres around an actress, Desiree, and I think she's your absolute creature of the theatre, and Judi Dench had a very strong connection to that character.
The play tells of how Desiree's old lover, Frederick, now married, re-enters her life, and how after many years apart, they fall for each other's charms again.
I apologise for all the squalor.
On the contrary, I've always associated you very happily with chaos.
When you said that time, I apologise for all this squalor. It was like, shall we
It's
now
gonna be
go to
worse
the
than
other room?
that.
Yes.
It's hard to specify her techniques. She rehearses in a way that you don't talk about it. You just do it, and you do it differently all the time. And each time we got on our feet, we did a different version of things, and then slowly the performance begins to coalesce of its own volition.
Still hungry as ever after a performance, I see.
Worse. I'm a wolf.
Still hungry as ever after a performance, I see.
Worse. I'm a wolf.
Hungry as ever after a performance, I see.
Worse. I'm a wolf. Rehearsals is a time that you are allowed to make mistakes and try and make choices, to move your wings and to fly a little bit in certain directions. I peered and peered and thought, is it, can it be possible? Is it? I thought, is it, can it be? Is it, could it? I've got so much bread. It's terrible.
It's terrible.
It's only to substantiate the line. I eat like a wolf. It's a very curious thing sometimes. You know that there is a laugh in a line. Your instinct is entirely what tells you there's a laugh. And sometimes you can't get it. And in a play in the theatre, you can't get it and can't get it. Then quite suddenly one night, you will get it. Sandwich?
No. Hungry as ever after a performance, I see.
Worse. I'm a wolf. Sit down. So much of being in the theatre is being part of a company. I wouldn't even know who to rely on if it was on my own. You'd have none of those wonderful larks that go on sometimes in the dressing room or in a company of people. Oh, dear.
Judi likes to work, and actually I would put it more strongly in that she can't bear not to work. A particular demon is to be left alone with nothing to do and no ability to practice her skills, and I think she's scared witless by that idea.
Well, I don't have much quietness inside me, because I don't find it easy to sit still and do nothing. In fact, I can't do that. I'm not good at being passively quiet.
I thought that you'd want what I want.
The emotional climax of the play is when Frederick tells Desiree that he will not leave his wife.
But where are the clowns? Quick, send in the clowns. Don't bother, they're here.
I'm an actress who can put over a song. I wouldn't say sings, but I would say could put over a song, because I had to learn that in cabaret. So it's just a matter of acting it.
Do try to forgive me.
The opening night, I was sitting next to Stephen Sondheim, the composer, and Stephen was leaning forward as she was singing and then turned to me and said, "Well, that's why I like to write songs." And for him, it was sublime. It was perfect. It was acted.
Isn't it rich? Isn't it queer? Losing my timing this late in my career. But where are the clowns? There ought to be clowns. Well, maybe next year.
Her great gift as an actress is making everybody feel that she's accessible to them. But she's much more private, and there's a core of her that is hard to know, and when you do know it, you feel that there is something there that is a soul that is far from untroubled.
I love the theatre best, and then I like television, and last I like the movies. And the theatre, although it's the thing that takes the most energy out of you, it's the thing that gets the greatest rewards, you know. You can hear the audience reactions, you know, you can hear if you need to kind of push the accelerator a bit or pull back the brake.
Dominic, you've never seen my mother acting.
No, it must seem ridiculous. I do know how famous you are, but by and large, my generation, we don't go to the theatre. To us, it doesn't seem relevant.
No, well, why should it? I quite understand. People say, oh, everyone should go to the theatre. Why should they?
Amy's View was the story of Esme, an actress, and her daughter Amy. It followed their relationship over a quarter of a century.
No, let's play to people who actually like it. And if there aren't very many, well, so be it. But don't come, please, because you've been told to. That won't do at all.
When I wrote Amy's View, then Richard Eyre, who was to direct it, immediately said, well, this is Judi Dench, isn't it? Now, I never write for actors, so I said I hadn't thought that, but yes, that would be fantastic. But when she was given Amy's View, she said, I don't see myself in this at all. Why are you giving this to me? This is not me. And she resisted the part very strongly.
Did David Hare write that play about you, really?
I don't think he did, but there are lots of things in it that are parallels, I suppose, with my life, or that I can understand easily.
She, Esme, is really a very vulnerable character, isn't she?
Yes, I think she is, very.
Do you think you are?
Yes, I expect I've got a lot of that in me, too.
Mummy is brilliant at playing comedy.
Well, I'm usually best at playing genteel, with something interesting happening underneath. You know, layers. I play a lot of layers.
She plays them wonderfully.
Oh, thank you.
The reason people responded so strongly to the play was that it's a mother-daughter play. I observed how complex that bond is, and the play plugs into something pretty primal.
Oh, you all say it so easily, so glibly. Take control of your lives. Who's in control, finally? I ask you. The answer is no one. No one. And if you don't know that, you know nothing.
There is an element of rebuke and competition in that relationship. And also in the mother, there's also a regret for the life they never got to live and that they feel their daughter is living.
My God, you live with this man, this child, this figure, who you think merits your love. And you let him run off with a slice of teenage Scandinavian charcuterie. And even then, forgive me, you don't even leave.
There are two kinds of actors. Those who reveal themselves when they act and those who act with a series of masks, you know. So in a sense, one is about stripping away the mask that they have in public and the other is about adding a mask. And she reveals herself.
Please stay.
I can't, not tonight. I have to get back to London.
Beg you, please.
I can't.
Just tonight. Just stay and comfort me.
Can't.
When mother and daughter finally come to loggerheads, it was immensely challenging.
Try and stay steady.
And immensely painful to play. Jude would play with such searing honesty that one simply responded.
I'll see you. I'll call you.
This is the last scene of the play before Esme discovers that her daughter Amy has died. As the play transferred to New York, Judi received the news that her husband Michael had been diagnosed with cancer.
We were in New York together when Michael first got ill, and she was absolutely terrified and drawn and in agony.
Is it that you just don't dare to deal with real experience? With the things that happen in real life, like grief and betrayal and love and unhappiness and loss, the loss of people we love.
She has the necessary stoicism that an actor has to perform even though their heart is breaking.
Michael died on the 11th of January 2001 after an 18-month illness.
Did you take time away from acting after your husband died?
No. I was not in a frightfully wonderful place. And then I kind of immersed myself in a lot of work. And I think it was the best thing I could do. And it was also being with incredible people, Richard Eyre and Jim Broadbent, and, you know, spread amongst friends. It was good.
Wonderful. Well done, Paul.
My mother had Alzheimer's, so I knew a lot about it, and it was uncanny that Judi, who hadn't actually been through that in any way, was incredibly just accurate.
Even when she was suffering from terrible grief over Michael's death, she was performing this exquisitely dignified person who was dealing with the worst grief of her life.
If you are grieving for anything, grieving creates an incredible energy in you. You can use that. You can. It just is like it's petrol, and it can be used, that energy, in order to tell another story.
There's a scene where she's in advanced stages of dementia, and the husband, played by Jim Broadbent, reads an excerpt from Pride and Prejudice to her. And in her close-up, you feel that you're watching somebody whose mind is half there. Extraordinarily difficult to do.
Mr. Darcy had at first scarcely allowed her to be pretty.
I wrote.
Yes, my darling, clever cat. You wrote books.
Books. I wrote.
You wrote novels. Wonderful novels.
I think what she covers up very skillfully is the sheer degree of hard work and technical skill that has been required to get her to where she is. She has immense knowledge, immense technical craft, but you are simply unable to see it. It is there so deep for so long, and with such sensitivity and such knowledge and such perception that it is just invisible.
I don't want it to be thought of as one kind of actress. You know, if having played Iris Murdoch, another similar kind of part comes up, then I can't do that. Everything in me says no.
Dame Judi's range of work was now immense. Everything from a disturbed schoolteacher to a cartoon mouse, to Queen Elizabeth I, a role for which she received an Oscar for a performance lasting under 10 minutes. But in those 10 minutes, Judi delivered one of the great performances of her lifetime. It was as if the part was written for her.
What do you love so much?
Your Majesty.
Speak up, girl. I know who I am.
It's one of the thrilling things about Judi's career is to have watched someone who's been so glorious always, and then suddenly she has this extraordinary film career that kind of started when she was about 65 or 70. Fills us all with hope.
Challenging herself yet again, Judi played the lead in Philomena, made by veteran director Stephen Frears.
Hello, you must be Philomena. I'm Martin.
It told the story of an Irish mother who is looking for her long-lost son with the help of a journalist, Martin Sixsmith, played by Steve Coogan.
I must apologise for the other night. I'm afraid I was a bit... caught me at a bad moment.
That's all right. Just glad you mentioned.
Philomena is about the Irish girl who's had a baby out of wedlock and went into a convent. And then at the age of 4, the child was sold to the Americans.
So, Philomena, how are you?
I'm all right.
And so the mother never saw the child again.
I had met her before, and she made me a cup of tea, and I told her the story, Philomena.
Hello, sorry I'm late.
Hello, Martin.
First of all, she said, who do you see as playing Martin Sixsmith? And I said, well, we were thinking maybe me. And she said, OK, and is that negotiable? And I said, no. And she went, OK. One of the reasons we wanted Judi was because we wanted to have the audience privy to Philomena's private anguish when no other people within the film are present, because it makes the moment really intimate. There are very few actors who can pull that off. In the wrong hands, it can just be, someone can just look vacant, you know, when the camera's on them. And of course, the audience really connects with her, just being able to look at her face very closely.
You know that her face is very, very expressive. Therefore, you don't need 6 lines to say what her face is saying. So you do less because she's doing it for you. So she's the perfect perfect actress for a lazy man.
Action!
There wasn't really much direction. There wasn't much conversation with Stephen. I mean, most of his direction was for me. I mean, she didn't really need any.
As Philomena's relationship with Martin Sixsmith develops, she opens up about the father of her lost son.
But what made it so much worse was that I enjoyed it.
What?
The sex. Oh, it was wonderful, Martin. I thought I was floating on air. He was so handsome. The way he held me in his arms. The thing is, I didn't even know I had a clitoris, Martin.
Right.
Judi mainly liked the dirty bits. She did ring me up and say, I've just come across this line about the clitoris. You are going to keep it in, aren't you? I told her she was a grubby. Underneath it all, she was grubby. And it seems to me all the better for it.
I knew your son for about 10 years.
The way Judi played Philomena was a very careful tightrope to walk, because if you overplay the comedy, then she could become a caricature.
I don't know if you knew, but he was gay.
Or it could be seen as cruel. So it needed to be really well judged, and she managed to get that slight naivety coupled with a kind of a sort of a folk wisdom.
Tell me, did he father any children?
Philomena, Marcia has just told us that Anthony was gay.
Yeah, well, I always knew that, but I just wondered if he might be bi-curious. A lot of the nurses I worked with were gay, but one of them, called Brendan, told me he was bi-curious. I don't think he could make up his mind, Marcia.
She has enormous empathy, but so do lots of people. Sorry, this is my anti-national treasure line. So do lots of people. But then she's a trained actress. She's good at her job. You work with the Hollywood actors, and they're not trained in that way. And then you come across Judi and her gang, and they know how to do it. They do it basically in rep every 2 weeks. That's what they do. They act a part.
I think acting is... I think it's always talked about. It shouldn't be talked about, it should be done. And it should either be a success or not a success. Just get on, tell the story. Where the hell have you been?
Enjoying death. 007 reporting for duty.
Judi being cast as Em was just a piece of inspired casting. It allowed a female voice, something that was probably needed in the Bond franchise. She came in and she took it and she made it her own.
Her first outing was back in 1995 with Pierce Brosnan, who was also new to the Bond family.
Would you care for a drink?
Thank you. Your predecessor kept some cognac in the top.
I prefer bourbon. Ice?
Yes.
I remember Pierce Brosnan's first day with Judi, and it transpired that he was absolutely terrified. And we were chatting in the lift, and he was going, well, you've worked with her, and what's she like? And I was going, well, she's lovely, she's divine. And he was going, yeah, but she's this, it's Judi Dench.
It's our first time together as James Bond and M. Both of us, I think, are quite anxious and nervous. They wanted her to have a cup of tea in her hand, and she said, no, that's going to rattle too much. She said, just give me a scotch. So she sat there with a scotch in her hand. I said to her, do you like doing films? And she said, oh, no, I don't like films at all.
You don't like me, Bond. You don't like my methods. You think I'm an accountant. A bean counter, more interested in my numbers than your instincts.
The thought had occurred to me.
Good. Because I think you're a sexist, misogynist dinosaur. A relic of the Cold War.
That particular scene and that line really set the benchmark for the rest of her career playing M.
Point taken.
Not quite 007.
She gave it a context for the first time, rather than us feeling like we're in this permanent time warp of 1969, sort of, or 72, the sort of Connery, Roger Moore axis, and basically they were stuck there forever, that she somehow went, actually, no, we can, this is now.
There you go, right in front of you. Em, over here, Em. Judy.
But however much Judi brought to Bond, her screen time was still limited, until director Sam Mendes took over.
When I directed Bond, I thought, hang on a minute, we haven't exploited the fact we've got a great actor playing M.
Take the shot.
I can't.
Take the bloody shot.
So let's try and unlock the potential of the character and her genuine interaction with Bond. That's something that I felt Judi could bring that nobody else could.
His name is Tiago Rodriguez. He was a brilliant agent. But he started operating beyond his brief, hacking the Chinese. The handover was coming up and they were onto him, so I gave him up.
Yeah, she stole every scene she's in. But, I mean, what a joy is that for me as an actor? When people like Judi walk on set, I relax. And with Judi, you're always guaranteed a little magic.
Please.
Who is your favorite Bond?
Oh, you see, I knew that would happen. How can I say that? Now, how can I say that? How would Pierce feel?
Dame Judi might feel differently if she knew the role that Craig had played in her demise in her last Bond outing, Skyfall.
I think I actually was the one who came up with the idea. You try and think of what's the biggest, best story you can tell, and that seemed to me and everybody in the room to be the biggest and the most emotionally, charged story that we could tell.
And then we had to, of course, break the news to Judi, which wasn't so easy.
I had 17 years of being M, so I had a full go at it. Christ. And I loved it, just loved it.
I think she was drawing on the fact that she'd had this long 7-movie relationship with the franchise, and it felt to her like M's relationship with MI6 was the equivalent. She was grieving it, and it's nice when art and life intersect to that degree, when someone who has had a 20-year relationship with the role is actually saying goodbye to it.
In Skyfall, M had become the film's driving force. Judi Dench, the ultimate Bond girl.
I read your obituary of me.
And?
Appalling.
Yeah, I knew you'd hate it. Did call you an exemplar of British fortitude.
That bit was all right.
Judi's days in Bond might be over, but since then, she has performed on stage, on television, and in film, where she reprised her role as Queen Victoria.
I said, I'll only do this next film if Judi plays it. And I cannot guarantee that she'll want to put all those clothes on again. But it's a wicked, mischievous part. So.
I don't think it would have been something I would have done by choice, but once I got the script and I knew Stephen was directing it, I thought I would definitely want to do it, and I'm very pleased I have.
Judi co-starred with the actor, Ali Faisal. Ali plays the Indian servant, Abdul, who becomes Queen Victoria's confidant.
There are very few people I really admired as a child. It was Judi Dench, it was Meryl Streep, Marlon Brando, De Niro, and these were actors we would idolize. And then to be able to work with her, I mean, it was just a dream come true. My first scene actually with her, it was 200 people on set. Honestly, I was nervous. I mean, it was all there for you to see.
Profiteroles have gone. Gentlemen, process, turn, bow, present. And absolutely no eye contact whatsoever.
One of the film's key scenes is where Abdul has to present a ceremonial coin to Queen Victoria, but not to catch her eye. The subtle interplay between the two co-stars hints at the relationship that follows.
I remember both of us looked at Stephen. And we were like, is that okay for you, Stephen? And Stephen just walks up to her and says, Judi, just act better. And I thought that was the best icebreaker for everybody was in splits.
And action, Ali.
As the film progresses, Abdul begins to teach Queen Victoria Urdu.
Main Rani hoon. I am the queen.
I see.
Judi Dench was a good student. We would sit together and we would do our lines and we would do the Urdu. Luckily, I knew the Urdu well, so eventually it was me, writing it all for her or recording the dialogues for her, or we would just practice.
Bas ons mukammal hai. That took me ages, but with Ali, it was, it was somebody on hand to say, no, it's not like that, it's like this.
She's constantly trying to reinvent herself. She's trying to make mistakes. She is making mistakes and learning from them. At that age, with that experience, it gives you so much to work with.
The lucky ones are people like Judi who find what they're good at and are allowed to lead an interesting life.
Would you ever consider retiring?
No. No. It's a really dirty word. Old and retiring, those are really dirty words.
I think she wants to go on working until she can't do it any longer and would love to expire, preferably on stage.
I don't think it's unusual for somebody to want to work when their means of expression artistically is their talent, their God-given gift, and that's what she has.
I think she is a figurehead, a woman of great integrity, beauty, charm, intellect, and above all, humanity.
She's not like other people. If other people were the same as Judi, we wouldn't be talking about her.
You've got to progress. You can't ever stand still. You can't go back, or at least you hope you won't stand still or go back. And also, you're aware of the mistakes that one can make. It's like building a house of cards. Your hand starts to shake when you get up to the top.